trying to bounce back from, 2 years of not making the postseason. It's been a drought that it's something that we haven't really become accustomed to under Coach McDonald. The players kind of seem like they have an extra edge to them this year. We heard, Coach Mack the other day at his press conference, and he was like, if you're betting on somebody, Louisville's a good team to bet on this year. Welcome to the Third and Central podcast, the only podcast dedicated solely to University of Louisville Baseball program. This is your host, Matt Sefcovic, and if you are following along through our video feed right now, you probably noticed there's some changes going on here at the Third and Central podcast. My long-term co-host, Aaron Turner, he's taken a college pitching coaching job, St. Cloud State up in Minnesota. So with that new position that he's taken, Aaron had to step away from the podcast. So he gave us a couple really good years outside of, being behind the microphone with myself. Aaron became a very good friend of mine. His family and I became very close through the years. So I just want to give a big shout out and a huge thank you to Aaron for the couple years that he gave us on the Third and Central podcast. So Aaron, if you're out there listening, really appreciate you. He just wrapped up his first weekend as a coach for St. Cloud State. They went down to Missouri and took on Missouri Southern, I believe it was, who's ranked 11th in the country. 1-1, they lost 2, but they fought all weekend long. So proud of you, Aaron, wherever you are up in Minnesota with all the snow you're getting. I think we're supposed to get a couple inches tonight. But that's nothing to what they see on a regular basis up in Minnesota this time of the year. So we are turning the page on Aaron, and we're inviting Terry Pennington from Inside Louisville Baseball. Terry's been doing this for a couple years on Twitter. I'll say as I've gotten to know him over the past couple years, there's no one that understands the Louisville baseball program inside and out more than Terry. And I'm not just saying that because he's here on the podcast with me. Every time I talk to him, I learn a lot more about the program because he truly is inside the program. But if you don't follow him on Twitter, his handle is at InsideVilleBSB. So you've got to follow him. After every game, he posts the video feed of Coach McDonald, talking his press conference after the game where Terry meets with him. He's, gotten to know the coaches. Terry knows the players. So he's going to be a wealth of knowledge. He goes to, almost every game. I don't think you miss a game, do you, Terry?
No, in the past 2 years since I started, the only games I've missed, I missed 4 games when I had COVID 2 years ago, and outside of that, no, I have not missed a game.
Yeah. So when I tell you that Terry is boots on the ground, he is going to be at pretty much at every game. Starting with this weekend, he's going down to Texas, which we'll hop into in just a few minutes. But Terry, I just want to kind of open the floor and let you introduce yourself and maybe talk about why you got into this, because I think that's a pretty cool story. Why you got into it, maybe some of your favorite moments since you've been around the Louisville baseball program.
I'm not like a lot of others. I'm not somebody who grew up here or was necessarily a diehard Cards fan in terms of just all sports. My now wife and I moved here in the summer of 2016, and she was going to grad school, and I needed her grad school program through George Washington University was very extensive. Very hard, and to be honest, she needed me to get out of the house while she did some classes and things. So I was just kind of looking for some things to do around the city, and that spring, I obviously know my grandpa was a really big college baseball fan, and so I've always just kind of, especially on TV, just loved watching the World Series and things like that. But when we moved here, I just knew that was something I kind of wanted to, maybe try to check out and see what that was all about here at Louisville, just with how good the program was and whatnot. And just started going to the games and at the time it was all free. So it was real, easy, especially the, early in the season, just checking out all the non-conference games and things like that. And so just in that way, just kind of became invested. Look, that 2017 season, the first year getting to go, you got McKay, you got Ellis, you got, Devin Mann, he might be my all-time kind of favorite guy. So, it was real easy to be invested really quickly there. Loved all those guys, loved that team. They were so good, so fun to watch. And as it kind of grew forward, maybe became interested in like, okay, well, who do we have coming in? When we first moved here, we lived kind of over in that kind of in the Fern Creek area a little bit. They had Caleb Corbett coming up. So I'd pop over there to watch Caleb a bunch and just became really invested in like, okay, who's next? What could they bring in? And I've always enjoyed that just from any other sport, whether it's I grew up a Michigan fan in Southeast Michigan. So whether it was basketball or football or those type of things, I always wanted to know that and just became invested in that in, in this team in that way. And honestly, was just always looking for more and more information. And so sometimes it can be harder to come by for college baseball. There are some great places. Obviously, D1 does great stuff, but locally was just looking for more. I just always wanted more, info. And I figured when I look at their Twitter account, there's over 100,000 followers on that baseball account. I figure there are others that probably want that information also. And so I just thought, could I be that guy that does boots on the ground like you stated? And just with also loving, the high school baseball scene have made, over the years have just become to make more contacts. I mean, whether it was each year I kind of tried to add something at Louisville baseball. I started keeping score at games or things like that. Or I started to go on some road trips, even the local, go to Indiana, go to Cincinnati, go to UK, those type of things, Western. And it just has kind of grown and grown into, kind of just I'm just trying to provide more information for people out there who want it. And, it's not behind a paywall or anything like that for people where you have to pay all this money at Perfect Game or at, PBR, all these things who provide great info. But if you want the extensive stuff, you have to, it's all these extra paywall. D1, it's all, baseball, man. There's so many places to get info, but you got to pay at each play. And don't get me wrong, I pay for those services. If you don't want the national stuff, you just want local about Louisville. Well, I'm trying to provide that for people in a different way. To be honest, I should be doing more. I think I can do more and I want to do more and just continue to grow it and help, what I think can be and has been, and hopefully will continue to be a fan base that's really passionate about Louisville baseball.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points there, and I hope this is a good avenue for you to kind of help grow, what you're doing too, because I think what you do is very beneficial to the fan base because you're at the ballpark all the time, and you see that the Louisville baseball fan base, it's different than the Louisville basketball and football fan base, right? Like it's a pretty small group. Like I can go to the baseball field, and I know you can attest to this too. And I can tell you who's going to be where they're going to be sitting most of the time, right? Like, unless it's a big super regional game, yeah, there's going to be a lot more people and they're everywhere and you're kind of moved around a little bit depending on if you can get your seats for your section and all that good stuff. But if you go to a midweek game, I can almost tell you who's going to be where in the stadium. So it's a pretty small fraternity. So I think having that additional exposure to the program, you and I have talked about this on numerous occasions, that's what we want to do, and I think that's what we're here for, and that's what you're here for. So hopefully this podcast will allow you to make more connections with the fan base, and just kind of grow what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, we just want to bring more exposure to the program that's been very rich in history, and I think we have a really good possibility to bring that back in this 2025 season, which is a good segue into talking about that. We are trying to bounce back from 2 years of not making the postseason. It's been a drought that it's something that we haven't really become accustomed to under Coach McDonald. We've struggled for 2 years, but like I said, I think the people that I've talked to seem very optimistic, and not just the fans. The players kind of seem like they have an extra edge to them this year. We heard, Coach Mack the other day at his press conference, and he was like, if you're betting on somebody, Louisville's a good team to bet on this year. He talked about how they're kind of flying under the radar, and he kind of seems like he has an extra chip on his shoulder. What I guess this is a real general question, but just what are your thoughts going into the season, and how do you see this team approaching the season coming off of 2 years where they didn't get to play postseason baseball?
Well, I think just to real quick touch on like what you're saying, like with Coach Mack. I mean, he seems I would completely agree with what you're saying. I think the number one, I don't think he's gonna tell you, no, I'm not excited. So I mean, I do think like from that standpoint, like he is supposed to say that, but it's real. It's
Mhm.
real from him. And I think he knows what they have. This season, I will say for the last 2, maybe 3 years, this was the one I had circled. This is the Omaha year. Just with the recruiting classes that they had coming that are have been absolutely loaded. Um, just and they've all stayed. He's made mention of that several times. Whether he made mention of it in the fall, he's mentioned it a couple different times. He mentioned it at the leadoff banquet. He mentioned it again at media day. We've had everybody, they've had everybody that's committed has gotten to campus.
And for those that don't know, that doesn't happen in baseball.
It's
Like
unheard of.
that doesn't happen once, let alone that doesn't happen at big time programs. Let me rephrase that. But let alone 2 years in a row. And that they always have guys that get drafted that sign or something happens along the way. But 2 years in a row, Louisville's had two damn good recruiting classes, and they're both here. And I think that's unheard of. And I think that's a testament to what you're saying and what Coach Mack has been talking about.
I think it's depending on some different places, like you're saying. I mean, it's not just that everyone's on campus. It's that it's who you're getting
Hmm.
to commit to come to college. I mean, there are numerous guys on this roster from the last few years, and two specifically. A lot of other years or other times would be playing minor league base, probably Class A baseball at this point. Whether it be a Zion Rose, whether it be a Take Davis. I mean, these are and there's more than just those couple guys, but I mean, those are just a couple examples of these are dudes that at a lot of other times would sign. And so, even I know he's not here anymore, but even a couple years ago, a kid like Corbin Dickerson. I mean, these are kids that at a lot of other times they would sign and they would end up in somebody's minor league program somewhere. So it's a really big deal. Obviously, we all know how good Zion was last year. The kid's upside is through the roof. Take Davis, if you followed along through the fall, read some things that have been said about him, heard how the way Dan's talked about him. Kid's the real deal, man. I mean, I don't, and Coach Mack has talked. He doesn't want to put too much pressure on him. He is a freshman. There will be times where he plays like a freshman, but he stepped right in the fall and was able to, make an instant impact. And I mean, coach has talked about it a few different times. I will say I noticed it obviously right away when he stepped on campus. When Zion was, stepped on that fall, I'll be honest with you. I had seen Zion play several times in high school where he was, just like an all-world kid. When he stepped on campus that fall, like, it was missing a little bit. The bat, it takes time. You're not going to instantly have it. Take has seemed to instantly have it. There will be times, obviously, where he struggles. It is baseball, but he's the real deal, and there's several others. So I'm really excited about this team. There's a lot of pitching depth. Again, they are college kids. I really encourage fans to understand this is not professional baseball. They're not going to throw up zeros every single time they walk on the mound. That's not even how minor league baseball goes, much less college baseball. So they're not pros. They're 18 to 21-year-old kids most of the time. Some of them are a little older, but they're not going to have it every time. That's not reality, but there is a lot of promise on this roster, and I think it's got the makings of being a roster that can make a legitimate run into the month of June.
Well, and the good thing about this season is we're not going to have to wait long to see them play good competition, right? They head down on Friday, Valentine's Day, down to Arlington for the Shriners Children's College Showdown, which Louisville has played there before. And this year they open on Friday night at 8 o'clock against number 19 Texas. They follow that up with a game on Saturday at 4 against Oklahoma State, who's ranked 17th, and then close out the weekend with number 21 Arizona on Sunday morning at 11:30. So three just huge matchups, big time matchups right out the gate. I personally am a big fan of these early season tournaments. I know not all coaches are. Most fans are, because you get to see a good quality opponent, right off the bat. But kind of depends on your team coming out of the gate. Do you have injuries from the off season? Is everybody healthy? Is everybody available? There's a lot of unanswered questions that early in the season. And I know you're heading down there. What are your expectations heading into a weekend against three big time programs like that? We saw Louisville go down and win 3 games last time they were down. What do you see your expectations, or what are you looking for? What do you want from this team maybe first weekend out against 3 quality opponents?
It's 3 quality opponents. It's 3 rosters with all Americans on them, preseason type things.
Mm-hmm.
Some have several, some have, like Oklahoma State. You're going to see a really good bullpen arm more than likely. I mean, maybe, with a potential anyway. Just depends on how the game goes, obviously. But, there's draft picks on every roster, and that includes ours, and even the other 2,
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss and Clemson there as well. There's guys everywhere in this stacked field. I know the kids and Coach Mack are, the kids are really excited to get to play especially on Friday. I mean, you get that prime time game, you get Texas in there. They're talking 20,000 in there on Friday night. It's going to be electric in there. It's a road game. That's a road game. But, we're going to flip the ball to Forbes on Friday and see what he has, and look, Patrick's, who else would you want to flip the ball to right now than Patrick Forbes? The kid's got the makeup, he's got the stuff, and the main thing that I want to see from the guys, I don't want to say I'm not worried about wins and losses, but I'm not gonna, if they go 3-0, I'm not gonna think that they're gonna win the College World Series. And if they go 0-3, I'm not gonna think the sky's falling in. The thing that I would like to see them do is I would like to see them do some little things. I'd like to see, let's play clean baseball. Can we play some clean defensive baseball? Can we get the first batter out in an inning defensively? To just give yourself that percentage chance of holding it to a 0. I mean, I'm not looking at a number right now in front of me, but I mean, it's staggering the difference of if you get that, if you can get that first out. Can we throw first pitch strikes and get ahead? Just some small things that build into big things. Those are kind of the things I'm really looking for early on, especially from a defensive and pitching standpoint. This team has all the talent. They have the guys to go down there and win games. Any win down there is a good win. If you do happen to lose games, they're not going to kill you. Just in terms of, late season stuff where you're looking at, I'm not going to worry about any of that on Valentine's weekend, but none of that stuff's going to kill you down the road. And so I'm just hoping to go down there and, like I said, just do some little things that lead to positives, hopefully this coming weekend, but also down the road.
I think, and you talked a lot about, pitching and throwing first pitch strikes and playing clean defensively. On the flip side of that, I'm also looking at a phrase that Coach Mack uses all the time is be offensive. And I think just having them have a good approach to the plate, move the baseball, and play situational baseball on the offensive side also. Don't make the base running mistakes, clean that stuff up. So I think just like you said, just going down there and playing clean baseball. If you go down there and, like you said, lose all 3 games, but you're competitive and you play clean baseball, I think that's going to be encouraging enough for me that when we get back to Louisville that I'm not concerned. The wins are going to come. If we play Louisville baseball, play clean, throw strikes, that stuff will take care of itself. I'm not too concerned about that. So I think it's a really cool opportunity. I think they've got a big opportunity in front of them. It's going to be juiced. Like you said, the Texas fans, we're going to be heavily outnumbered on Friday night. There's going to be a ton of them there.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Like you said, there's no neutral site about that. They are going to pack that place. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So you'll really enjoy. I hope you really enjoy your experience down there because I think it'll be a blast. One reminder I do want to toss out there for Louisville fans: I've tweeted this out a couple times. These games are on Flow Sports, which is behind a paywall. So for most of you that, and myself included, that aren't going, you will have to pay for these on Flow Sports. They've got a package you can pay. I think it's $29.99, gives you an entire month's access to Flow Sports, which you'll probably use for 3 games, and then that's it. Just make sure you cancel it. Or you can do an annual, but it's like $12.50 a month, and you have to pay for it all at once. So $29.99 option will be your best because it's just one time and then you're done with it. So just heads up, if you want to watch the games, prepare for that early, because if you go to flip it over at 8 o'clock on Friday night, it's going to take you a little while to set everything up and pay and all that. So Flow Sports, but you'll have to get behind the paywall so you can watch the games.
$10 a game, man. We can pay $10 a game to support the
yeah.
Bulls.
They deserve that, right?
Yep, for sure.
So one thing I do want to talk about, which I think was pretty cool, the ACC recently announced a change to the conference tournament. It used to be where they broke teams into pool play, and there were a couple teams that didn't make the ACC tournament. This year they've gone to the format that I can't remember if it's similar or maybe exactly like what the SEC tournament is doing, where the 1 through 4 get a double bye, 5 through 8 get a single bye, and then the rest of the teams play. Everybody makes the tournament. It's a single elimination tournament through to the end. I personally, again, I just like watching baseball, and I think I think once you get to that point of the season, I think everybody deserves a chance, right? Like the Cinderella story, that's cool. Put everybody in the tournament, one game, let them go out there and try to take care of business and see what happens. What do you think about the change there? Are you in favor of that, or do you like the pool play? I always thought the pool play was kind of confusing, and the top seeds got such an advantage because all they had to do was really win one game, and that was they won the pool, which they deserve some type of benefit because they are a top seed. But I kind of like the single elimination format myself.
Yeah, so I will say, going down to Charlotte last year, the idea that when they lost the game to Miami, and I'm sure it happens other years to other teams, and it may have even I'm not really remembering off the top of my head who was in what pool, but I'm sure it happens in other pools as well. But they lose that game, and then you have 2 days off until your next game, which I don't want to say that game didn't matter in terms of the potential to make maybe the NCAA tournament, but in terms of the pool play there, that game did not matter at all, at least for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you got 2 days off and then you still have to play that game. That's silly to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of this format, I like it. When you're saying everybody have an opportunity, 100%. I mean, if you're in last place, look, the odds of you winning 5 games that week or whatever, are very small just in terms of, the taxing on your pitching staff and whatnot, but you do have a chance. And I like that idea. The only part of the bracket that I think is a little goofy is I believe it's Thursday, Friday, there's only 2 games. And so like the top half of the bracket, it has it's what is it, the quarterfinals? The quarterfinals, there's only 2. It's like 3 and 7 or 2, whatever it is that day, whatever the times are. But the top half of the bracket has 2 games on Thursday, and then the bottom half has 2 games on Friday. So if you're in the top half, you get, there's rest days in there. I don't know. It's just that part of it's kind of goofy to me. Why are you playing 4 games and then 4 games, but then just 2 and 2? I don't know. But I thought that was silly. But outside of that, I mean, I like the idea. I'm sure that I would assume coaches like it. The pool play, just the way it was, like you said, there should be you should earn an advantage for getting a higher seed, and you still have it. You get either a bye into the quarters, or you get a bye into the you can even get a bye and just not have to play on Tuesday. So lots of opportunities still there to earn some sort of an advantage. Like I said, there is a rest in there built in, just basically off of if you're in the top or the bottom. So still cool. Tournament's back in Durham this year. Beautiful ballpark. If if you haven't been, it's awesome. I personally enjoy Durham anyway, not necessarily Durham, but just that whole Durham area is nice. So with Raleigh and whatnot. So, if it's a really fun time to go to the tournament. If people have not been, I would encourage, if you had an opportunity, even if Louisville's able to make it to a weekend, to get over there and go. It's pretty fun.
And we kind of talk about the Cinderella aspect to it a little bit. And I know it's a different sport, but you look at NC State last year in basketball, right? I mean, they came out of nowhere and they ended up in the Final Four. And during the regular season, they weren't very good at all. And all of a sudden, they breezed through. They had to get through Louisville and then NCAA or the ACC tournament, which we know that was a tough game for them. But once they got through, they won the ACC tournament, and just this such a cool story. And I think just allowing the every team in just creates those opportunities for the teams that didn't have such a good year in the regular season, but they can still make a run in the postseason, because I love a good Cinderella story. So I'm all in favor of it. Like you said, I just pulled up the schedule. I didn't realize that when I first looked at it. That is kind of funky how they're playing. They play kind of every game in one day until they get to the quarterfinals, and then it's like 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and then they resume both games on Saturday again. I don't understand what mindset went into that, but
I honestly
nonetheless.
didn't even recognize that the first time that I looked at it, and when I looked back over it in the last week, I was like, "Oh, that's kind of weird." As you said, just to touch more on the Cinderella thing real quick, like, if you look back even at the NCAA tournament over the last 5 or so years, there have been, Ole Miss won a title as one of the
Mhm,
last teams in.
mhm.
I'm pretty sure that the year that Michigan made it to the finals, that they were one of the last four teams in. So, their baseball is like that. I mean, you see it in MLB all the time where somebody, kind of just ekes their way in, or a wild card makes a run, or, that baseball is a game where, you can get hot, momentum happens. And especially in that sort of format where it's just one game, there's a lot of different things that can just kind of happen in baseball. I think hockey is a little bit that way as well, where just kind of some different goofy things can happen on a game by game basis that you might not necessarily see in a football or a basketball game.
Well, look at Oral Roberts, what, in 2023, making a run all the way to Omaha, like, Coastal Carolina, what,
Yeah.
2016, winning the whole thing. Like, I mean, like you said, you get a pitcher or two hot, the bats get hot, anything can happen. So, yeah, I love the change. I'm excited about that, and I think it'll make for a really competitive conference tournament down in Durham. So let's go ahead and jump over into the 2025 roster. We've kind of touched on this a little bit. There's a lot of new faces this year. We got some transfers. Dan has talked about how they dipped in the portal this year more than they have in the past. We talked about how the freshman class has come in and they all signed. They all made it to campus, and they're a handful of them are going to be impact guys this year. But there's also quite a few household names that we have learned to love over the past couple of years on both sides of the ball. We talked about Zion a little bit. Let's kind of focus on the pitchers a little bit. And I'm not going to ask you to go through the whole entire staff, because we could be here for 4 or 5 hours. Because there's a bunch of them. Baseball's not like basketball. There's 7 or 8 guys to talk about. Just maybe a couple guys who you think will be rotation guys, impact guys, maybe some faces that we don't know at this point in time, that new to the program, that could be freshmen or transfers, that you really think could be impactful for either the rotation or the bullpen, or just what role you could see them make an impact this season.
I would say, guys that you obviously, some, if you want to call it like a household name. I mean, obviously, I mentioned Forbes a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get the ball on Friday night. Team, Team USA guy. Um, had the opportunity to go down there and spend the week down there and follow those guys around the summer. And he got the ball on opening night for Team USA. That tells you all you need to know about Patrick Forbes.
Uh-huh.
He's got that 97-mile-an-hour fastball. He's going to run that thing up and in on your hands. I mean, good luck. He's talked. I think he even said a little bit at media day last week. He's been working on his his secondary pitches a little bit more. I love Patrick. I love his makeup. He's not rattled. So Patrick's got that ice in his veins. Like,
Hmm.
he doesn't, his heart rate stays the same. He's that kind of kid. So I love that for him on Friday night. If I had to guess, It looks like probably Detmers on Saturday, I would assume. He was absolutely lights out on Friday. He had a little bit of a tough time in the first inning, just maybe just kind of settling in. But after that, forget it. Earlier in this kind of lead up in this spring, kind of scrimmages and things. I mean, he's been up to 99 on the gun. I mean, he's got. I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw 99 in there.
Probably
Um,
Birdie, one of the birdies.
that's probably who it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, I would
Um,
say so.
it just shows you like his talent level. He has all the tools, all the tools. It just comes down to can he just settle in and trust? I mean, can he just trust his stuff because he has it, man. He's got all of it there. So I'm excited to see him get the opportunity on a big, on a big stage. And look, if it doesn't go great, that's okay. You come right back the next week and let's go again. I mean, that's all right. That's again, like I said before, that's baseball. It's not going to be every week where you're just lights out. But I'm excited for him to get the opportunity. I assume that he's going to get the ball flipped to him on a Saturday. That's the way it looks.
He's a lot like Forbes, like you said. He's very cool, calm, and collected. He's neither one of those two. I hate this comparison because I hate comparing anybody to Brendan McKay. But McKay could walk off the mound after he struck out 3 in 9 pitches, and he walked off the mound exactly the same as if he gave up 6 home runs in a row, right? Like he was just very mellow the whole time. It didn't matter what happened. He was just very cool, calm, and collected out there. And I love that from Forbes and Detmers both because they don't seem to get too high or too low. And I think that's a good makeup of a quality starter.
And he, as far as Detmers goes, it'll be a new thing for him in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
weekend. And so, I'm sure there's going to be some nerves there. I mean,
Oh,
who
yeah.
wouldn't be? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but as long as he can just, once you can overcome that and get it going and get into the flow of the game, like I said, he has all the tools. He has all the stuff there. I mean, again, like we talked about a little bit before, could have easily been a kid that signed out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I did see him pitch twice in high school. I mean, I had a hard time even seeing there were so many scouts. I mean, like he just, like I said, could have easily. I think there was some talk about, a lot of people thought he could sign. I had always heard that he was coming no matter what, so I thought that was kind of goofy. But again, just an ultra talented kid that I'm really excited for them to flip the ball to him on the weekend. As far as Sunday, man, I have a tough time honestly. Like I know that a lot of people think Cuts, but I think it's either going to be Cuts or probably Michael. One of those two guys is probably going to get it on Sunday. If I had to take a guess at it, both have seen action in that sort of starting role in terms of leading off scrimmages and things like that. Whether it's one of those guys, maybe one of them gets the ball on Wednesday against against Xavier the following weekend, or maybe they go with Hartman. Those are the 5 guys that I would say are probably right in line to, maybe one of those 3 guys would get the ball on, or excuse me, one of those 2 on Sunday, and then whoever's left with Hartman potentially on the following week against Xavier.
Yeah, and we've talked about both of those guys before. Aaron and I have. Cuts is Brennan Cuts. He's a transfer from Indiana State. Was pitcher of the year up there in the Missouri Valley Conference. Shown big time stuff. And then Peter Michael transferred down from Northwestern. So I think, and you and I have talked about this. We're going to see a different lineup from Coach McDonald for the first couple weekends, first month of the season, and maybe even beyond that. And he does this every single year. He's trying to get guys in the right position and get the rotation the way he wants it. So he's going to give different guys the opportunity. So just who we see on Friday this week or Saturday or Sunday this week, it's not the same team we're going to see or the same lineup we're going to see the Friday following or the Saturday following. He's just going to try out different guys. That's what he does. He's trying to get guys in position in the rotation to put his team in the best opportunity to win. So we're going to see different options from Coach Mack. But the thing about, I think we've got a lot of really good options. So, you name 5 guys that I think outside of Forbes, because I think he's just that damn good, are pretty interchangeable. I think the other 4 guys, you could probably move them around in any of those 4 spots, and they could all be very successful. Which I think, to me, that's one of the most exciting things going into this season.
Yeah, I think just raw stuff. I mean, Detmers would stand out a little bit from those other guys, and even Hartman. I mean, his raw stuff is great, but just much the same way. I mean, it's just, can he throw strikes? Can he get ahead? Um,
Yeah.
and it, it's just like I said earlier, it's basic baseball stuff, and that's what Dan. You got to be able to work from ahead. That's really what it's going to come down to for those guys as they continue to battle for those spots. Can you do those things to put yourself, and then the team obviously in a position to do the best, to do the best that you can and help them win a baseball game.
So let's kind of flip script real quick and talk about the guys they're going to be throwing to, and talk about the guys behind the plate. First, I want to start out with Matt Klein, the local product. He was named a captain this year in 2025. Had a good season last year, hit 297, 3 home runs, had 12 extra base hits beyond that. And then he went up to the Cape this summer and really just tore the cover off the ball and hit 375. Had a really, really, really good summer. Had a couple injuries last year that he had to battle through. But I think Klein behind the plate, Dan talks about this. We all talk about this as fans. Is Louisville has the label of catcher U, right? And I think Matt Klein is just the next in line to be at catcher U, because I think he's got all the tools. I'm really excited to see Klein be, the guy this year behind the plate. And as Dan talks about, there's always going to be numerous catchers, and that's anywhere in the country. You can't throw one guy behind the plate every single game in college. So I'm excited to see who's going to kind of take the next step behind him. You've got a couple guys. Taggart Tyson, as a freshman year, he didn't play, but he put together a nice summer in the Northwoods League for the Waterloo Bucks this year. George Baker, same thing, didn't play last year as a freshman. But I think a lot of people, and you probably tested this, think Baker's probably the best catcher defensively that we've got on the roster. I hear that from numerous people. I talked to his travel ball coach back. He may have been a sophomore in high school at this time, so it's been a long time ago. And his summer ball coach said he could start right now defensively for a low D1 team. And this is when he was 16 years old. So I think Baker's an option behind the plate. And then freshman Colin Mowry, he was a big-time recruit, another guy from Illinois. We talk about Illinois a lot on this podcast, and we're going to talk about Illinois for a long time on this podcast going forward, because that's the state they just keep on giving to this program. I think he was around 107th overall in the country, number 9 catcher in the country. So I think he's got a lot of tools, and I think he may see some time behind the plate as well this year. What are your thoughts on him and that group?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, Matt obviously is going to be the go-to guy for sure.
Yep.
I love Matt's skill set and makeup behind the plate. He has the right build. He's left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
He has a great bat. Probably my favorite thing about Matt, skill set wise, is the way Matt's able to hit the ball to all fields. He's the best backside hitter we have on this team. I think Matt does a great job of hitting the ball where it's pitched. He's very professional in that way. Just he does such a good job of hitting that ball through the left side. It's really impressive. The only thing that probably anybody, whether you're scout or whatever it may be, that somebody probably would want to see from Matt is just an uptick in some power numbers.
Yeah.
And he has it. You saw it in the fall. If anyone was out, he hit 5 or 6 in the fall. I think Matt's right in line to hit 10 to 12, probably somewhere in that range. Who knows? Maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but you're going to see an uptick in Matt's power numbers. He's healthy now. Which is a big deal in terms of his legs. So he's going to be able to drive on the baseball a little bit better. And like I said, you saw that. Coming off, the knee surgeries, he just wasn't able to really get behind the baseball the same last year. And, that's to no fault of his own. So he probably gets to catch 3 days a week, I assume. He's that, I really like Matt's receiving skills. I think he's very good behind the plate. When you're looking at the guys to come up behind, it's tough. It's really hard to decide, because Taggart Tyson's bat is really good. That kid can really hit the baseball, and he is fun to watch. I love his communication skills behind the plate. You can hear Taggart anywhere and everywhere. He is really encouraging. He is great in terms of getting guys aligned, in terms of allowing them to know what the signals are, where to go, where to be. He's great at all those things. And so I love that from him. he's gotten better receiving the baseball. He'll continue to improve as he gets more reps. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. These guys haven't had reps
Hmm.
in terms of in-game reps, and so as he continues to do that, he's going to continue to improve behind the plate. But his bat is great. I love it. He's got some power too. He get the ball out of the ballpark, drive the ball in the gaps. He's got a really good bat. Baker's defensive makeup is ahead of probably where Taggers is. And then his bat is a little bit behind where Taggers
Yeah.
is. And so, and not everyone's going to have the same skill set. And so, both of those guys are going to get a chance to catch. There's no doubt about it. They're both going to get an opportunity to catch, whether it be a Saturday, more than likely, or some Tuesdays, whatever it may be. And you want to give Matt a break and you want to play Matt at first base. You want to DH Matt. His bat's so good, it's probably going to be hard to keep out of the lineup. But there are going to be guys that get an opportunity, and whatever they want to do with the red shirt. If they want a red shirt, Colin, I'm not 100% sure if they're planning on that or not. But if you need a fourth catcher, if you're trying to work a red shirt, Zion is available.
Mm.
If need be. I'm just, in an emergency type situation or whatever. And so they'll figure that out. But for sure, those three guys, Matt will be your number one guy. But those other two guys are going to get a chance to battle it out. To be honest, much the same way that Klein and Vierling did a couple years
Hmm.
ago.
Yeah.
As they battled it out. And both of those guys, one was thought to be a better defensive catcher and one was thought to be a more offensive catcher. And once they got to playing, they had a lot of the same skill set in games. I mean, you couldn't hardly, and unfortunately, they both end up getting hurt. But it was tough to pick between those two guys for a backup there for a while. So, and just to touch on Colin, I will say from seeing him, I saw him in the summer a couple summers ago. They came to Louisville. His team up in Lincoln Way came,
Hmm.
and I'm very familiar with. I lived in Illinois for 12, 13 years from college into um, way too long, honestly, for living in Illinois. But we are going to continue to get Illinois kids for sure, especially as long as Snyder's here. So
Yeah.
they came down and played at Ballard last year. He played. I got hopped over there and was able to see him there. A really skilled kid. His body in terms of just his build. I mean, he is
Hmm.
physically ready for college baseball.
Yeah. He
Uh,
looks like a college catcher, like walking onto campus as a freshman.
100%.
Yeah.
And he looked that way as go even between his junior and senior year. His body was ready.
Hmm.
He can, he's got some power. He can hit that baseball. Just again, I mean, you're typically not going to be ready as an 18-year-old to come in and catch a pitching staff of guys that are able to throw pitches that you have not caught before.
Hmm.
You're not used to seeing 98, 99. You're not used to, guys being able to throw a breaking ball and block in the same way. So on a curveball or when someone's gonna, purposely is gonna be spiking it in the dirt and being able to, read spin and being able to position your body in certain ways. So these guys are all improving. I like the makeup of all four dudes. All great dudes, which I love, and so I'm excited. That's a good position group. There's especially this year. There's three really good. Depending on what they want to do with Colin, like I said, in terms of is he going to redshirt or what is he going to do? If that's the case, I hope he gets to go and at least bullpen catch and be around the guys and just like I said, just continue to get reps, continue to get that because I think he has a really bright future. I like his his trajectory of what he could be in the future.
Yeah, I think this program is always going to be in good shape with catchers. I remember when Zion kind of made the official announcement that he was going to the outfield. I was like, oh gosh, let me look at the catchers on the roster real quick and make sure what's that going to look like. And then you start looking down the list, and I think Tagger may have kind of flirted with the portal for a minute, and then
Yeah, he hopped in. Yeah.
he came back after I don't know if what all went into that. There's a lot that goes into play with that, but him coming back helped. Colin showing up, to campus, that helped. So a lot went into it. But when you start looking down the list of catchers, it's like if Zion doesn't move to the outfield, imagine what that catcher list looks like at that point in time, because it's pretty damn good now, and imagine adding an All-American to it. So. I think we're going to be in good shape behind the plate. I have no doubt about that one bit, just because the trajectory that we've been on over the past couple of years and well, really the past 18 years that we've had the coaching staff here. So let's hop over to the infield, and now this is going to be a really tough group to discuss, because you've got guys like even like a Matt Klein, like you mentioned, he can hop out and play first base if he wants to. Most of these infielders on this roster this year, they're pretty interchangeable on where they can go. And I say this year, that's kind of a Dane McDonald team, right? That he a lot of his players can interchange. Who are you most excited about? Obviously, we've got Alisea coming back. He's going to be, playing up the middle. But most of the other faces in the infield are going to be, new guys that we haven't seen before. They're transfer guys. Or, if you've got Klein over at first, or if you've got Tate Davis, a freshman. But who do you see as some of the players on the infield this year?
I think if I had to pinpoint some guys, I mean, you're going to see Alisea get the start at shortstop to start the year off. Man, second base is the one that's probably the hardest to pinpoint. If I had to take a guess, I would guess that it's going to be Kamayu to start, at least to maybe opening day. You'll definitely see Hot get a shot over there for sure. At second base, he's been playing some second base through the last couple weeks for sure. I'm telling you, man, third base. If people have not seen Jake Monroe play, this dude's the real deal, man. He's the real deal. He can pick it, and that bat is for real. He is going to drive the ball out of the ballpark on a number of occasions this year. Kind of something that we've been missing a little bit of since making that super regional was maybe, that team hit I probably should have had it in front of me. I don't know what the home run numbers for the team were that year, but we had a lot of dudes able to, up and down that lineup that were able to hit the ball at the ballpark and get runs in a hurry, where you didn't feel like you had to, kind of single and double your way to and steal your way to runs. This team has the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark like that team did in 22. So Monroe's the real deal. He's going to play third base. First base, I would say Tag's going to be the guy, at least to start. And again, that's going to be a position where I don't expect him to run out every single day. Whether it be Klein, whether it be early, they've got some options over there at first base. And, you've even got some other guys, Tanner Shiver. I mean, he'll probably get, they're going to give him a look. He's played, he was playing third base over the weekend. So, it's not going to, like we've said before, and like every, if you know about Dan, about the program, he's going to run different dudes out. That's just what he does. And even sometimes he doesn't even set it the whole year. But I would assume that the main guys that you're going to see, especially to open the season up, you're going to see Monroe at third. You're going to see Alisea. I would guess Kamayu. Second would be a little more up in the air. But at first base, I would say you're going to see Tate.
We've talked about Kamayu on here before, and, statistically speaking, I think last year he was the most difficult player in the country to strike out, which, that's super impressive for, I think last year we struggled a little bit in situational baseball, which we've kind of touched on a tad. So I think having a guy like that's going to put the ball in play and move the baseball, like Dan talks about quite a bit, that's going to be a major asset to have to this lineup, and I'm really excited to see Kamayu. And, the guy got here, and shortly after he got here, they named him a captain, right? Like, that's pretty damn impressive to show up, and I don't know the time frame. I don't have that in front of me, but, shortly after he got here, his peers named him one of the 5 captains on this team, and I think that just shows the command that the respect that he commands from the team. So I'm really excited to see him play. He's a small guy. He's got a real small frame. But everything that I've seen, read about him, the guy plays with a ton of heart and he plays the game with a lot of passion. So I'm really excited about Kamayu this year. And we've talked about Tag a couple times. I think, just seeing that hot bat that he's going to bring with Jake Monroe, like you talked about, we have really lacked that home run power for the past, 2 years. And, having at least those 3 with Zion in the outfield, I think we're going to have the ability to score runs in a hurry, like you mentioned, and not have to manufacture as many runs like we've had to do in the past couple of years. I think we're going to have a big benefit with those couple big bats in the lineup, and I'm really excited about the options that we have. But like you said, it's going to take some time to figure out who fits where, right? And Dan's he's gonna roll a bunch of guys out there to see what the best lineup is for this team, because it's not a problem to have too much talent, but it's you just got to figure out where everybody fits and how they fit into the lineup and into the rotation. So it's going to be fun to see how Dan kind of manages all that. And you and I both know that we've got the full confidence that he's going to do it. It's just it's kind of fun to watch and see all these new pieces getting inserted into the lineup and where they're going to fit the best.
And better to have too much than not enough, right? So,
right. I mean, yeah.
at least there's he's got the better problem to have for sure in that
So talking about having too much talent and not enough, let's talk about the outfield, right? Because there's a lot of talent to go around. I would say, and I'm not a huge expert in all of college baseball. I'm not a huge expert in Louisville baseball. I wouldn't claim to be, but I would take our outfield over most outfields in the country. I mean, the depth that we have in those three positions, outside of somebody like Virginia, because they got a couple of preseason All-Americans in their outfield, but Clemson's got Canarell out there, so there's other dudes out there, but to have four consistent guys like we've got coming back this year, you just don't see that. So let's kind of run through them real quick. We talked about Zion a handful of times. He's another captain on this team. He was just recently named the number 20 sophomore in the country by Perfect Game. He was named a 20.
That seems low, by the way.
Well, I thought the same thing when I saw that. I was like, show me 19 guys better than Zion.
No, I think if he did see that, I'm sure he will remember that for a while.
Yeah, I mean, when I first read that, I was like, show me 19 sophomores, not just college players, just 19 sophomores better than Zion. You're not going to find it. But he was a preseason All-American this year, or I'm sorry, the preseason Golden Spikes watch list this year. And making the move to be the full-time outfield, like we talked about. And Dan's talked about this a little bit, and I want fans to kind of understand that too. Making a move from behind the plate to the outfield, that's not easy to do, right? Like, as a player, that's much easier on your body, right? Like long-term longevity, if you look at your career, how long you can play. But go out there and try to track a baseball that's hit 300 feet. That's no small task. So there's probably going to be some growing pains there. Dan's talked about, he's still learning the position. He's good at the position now. And Dan mentioned the other day in his press conference, he was like, by the end of the year, they expect him to kind of be where they want him to be. Making that move, I think that just shows the athleticism of Zion and how much they trust him to do that, because that's not something that anybody can just pick up. When I played high school baseball, and I was just an average ball player, I was not good by any stretch of imagination. I played first base. We had a couple first basemen, so they were trying to find somewhere to put us so we could have extra bats in the lineup, and they were like, "Hey, go play right field." So I go out there for a practice one game, and the first fly ball's hit, and I'm like, where the hell is this thing going? To be able to just pick that up at the level that Zion plays it in the ACC at Louisville, that's pretty dang impressive. So, he's going to be one of the guys out there for sure. Eddie King Jr. coming back for a final season, made 38 starts last year. Just having that veteran bat. Started the season kind of slow, but ended pretty strong. Ended up hitting over 300. So I think it's going to be good to have that veteran voice back in the outfield as well. You've got Lucas Moore. He's just fun to watch, man. I could watch Lucas play baseball all day long. Just plays with so much passion. Just you can tell he's having fun. Like, right. I just love watching Lucas out on the diamond, and he really fits Coach Mack's system to a T. stole 17 bases last year, scored 30 runs. Dude's just having fun out there. And then this summer had a really, really good summer. He stole 48 bags, which is just unheard of. So I really expect Lucas, and I hope Lucas has a big year because, like I said, I just love watching him. And then after you got those guys coming back, you look at one of the transfers we took from Toledo, Garrett Pike, who was a third-team All-American. He led Toledo in single season home runs, and he's their all-time home run record holder. I think he hit 21 last year. So he's got some power there. We were talking about looking for power somewhere. Where we're going to find it? Well, there's another bat we could look for it. So then you've got Michael Lippy. The outfield. I think the options out there this year are really, really deep. Again, good problem to have. It's just going to be that balance of who's going to play where on what day.
I think you touched on a couple different things, like especially if I'll just start with Zion. I mean, I will say one of the things that I noticed about Zion when he first stepped on campus that fall is they were playing him in the outfield a lot that fall, and just getting to watch him out there. My immediate thought was just more seeing him on a more regular basis than I had obviously seen him just a handful of times in high school, was I just thought they're wasting this kid's athletic talent behind the plate.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say he's so gifted athletically. It would seem like you would want to use his talents there. And I don't know if that's necessarily the way that he thought of it, or if he thought of, like you said, and also something I often thought of, and I have even had a couple conversations with Zion about, is the longevity behind the plate versus playing in the outfield. I mean, when you're thinking about, a professional baseball career, you can obviously extend that a little more potentially by playing in the outfield versus the wear and tear on your body behind the plate. Zion, it's going to come down to much the same way as, maybe a couple years ago. I'll never forget being at Prasco Park and I hope I'm saying it right, up there in Mason, Ohio, where we, I think it was Miami, Ohio, maybe, that we were playing in the fall, in the fall scrimmage, and Eddie King Jr. was playing in left field, and we hadn't really seen much of Eddie, obviously being hurt his true freshman year, and to be honest, and he would probably admit this, was not a great. Did not run great routes to the baseball, just in terms of tracking it. And it's a completely different, like you were mentioning, it's a learned skill.
Mm-hmm.
Just in terms of picking the ball up off the bat, knowing in terms of you've got to locate the ball and put your head down and run, and then locate the ball again.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not something where you're not going to be able to just run looking at the baseball. These are all learned skills, and it's not like you just pop out there and you just catch balls that are hit high up in the air to you. You got line drives hit right at you. Are you in? Are you back? All these different things. And these are all things that they will continue to get better at. Zion will continue to get better at. I mean, look, is he a first team All-American outfielder right now in terms of, running down the baseball? I'm sure not. Could he get there? I'm sure yes, because of what his athletic skill set is, his mental makeup, and his work ethic. He's got all the tools to be great. And so I'm not worried about Zion one bit. He's going to be your starting left fielder. Will you see Lippy play there sometimes? Probably. They'll give him a shot. Every time I see Lippy, I just thinking outside of baseball, I just think like this dude looks like a middle linebacker, like a starting middle. Like, should he be playing like across the train tracks in the other stadium? I have no idea if he played. I'm not aware if he did or did not play high school football or not. But if he did, he probably was a tank and just just hit some dudes. But the dude is a physical dude. He's runs very well.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good outfielder. Just comes down to just, the bat does it, and that's just what it is. And, he can run into one though. I'll tell you that for sure. And when he does get one, he really gets one. Center field, Lucas Moore. I like you share the love for watching Lucas play. I mean, he just seems to float to the baseball. He just flies. He's so fast. It's effortless. As a former speedy left-handed center fielder, I love watching a speedy left-handed center fielder. So I would not, no, I couldn't hit worth a lick, but so that's, that's the missing part there for sure. So that's it's tough to play baseball when you can't hit. But Lucas is a joy to watch out in the outfield because there's seemingly nothing he can't go get. So I love that. Just the defense, it's outstanding. I mean, look, all you need to know about Lucas is not as heralded of a recruit. And by the way, thanks to UK for letting him go.
Right.
We'll glad by all means, thank you. We gladly picked him up, and he stepped right on campus and just immediately hit the cover off the baseball all fall, and made it virtually impossible for Dan not to play him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was excellent. Starting center fielder right away, and so he's gonna get the nod right away again. And whether he bats leadoff, I expect Alisea to hit leadoff. That kind of seems to be the way they lean. But you want to bat Lucas behind him, you want to put him down a little bit, whatever you want to do. But Lucas brings a lot to the plate on both sides of the ball, just with his ability to disrupt the game, running wise. I mean, Lucas could score from first on a ball that most guys, somebody might stop at second base on, because he's able to push the envelope and make you make a play defensively. And I love that about Lucas, his aggressiveness. Look, is he going to run into an out sometimes? Yeah, he probably is. But is he going to also make some plays that no one else almost in the country could make? Yes, he is. And I love that about Lucas. And if Lucas runs into an out every now and then trying to be aggressive, by all means, because more often than not, that's going to go in your favor.
He's also hell on the base paths. Like opposing pitchers, he is inside their head from the time he hits first base to the time he's either out or he scores. Like, I mean, you can tell he draws so many throwovers from the pitching mound, and you can tell he just has them rattled for the time he gets on the base paths.
And it's in the, it's obviously in the scouting report in terms of, what he is going to bring to the base paths. And when he gets on base, I mean, he's going. And if he's not going, you think he's going. And so, he essentially has got the, for lack of a better phrase, Lucas has pretty much the green light on, on what the read is. And so he is very disruptive. I love what he brings, like I said, on both sides of the plate. I just love watching Lucas Moore play baseball. He's just fun. He has fun out there too, and I enjoy that about him.
Yeah, you can tell he's just having a blast while he's out there.
And just again, the team is full of him, but just a good dude, and so I enjoy that too. Right field, man, right field's tough, right? Because there's so many, there's options, right? And so you bring in Pike because you think Dan's mentioned it, right? He thinks Eddie's whether he gets drafted or is just going to sign. I mean, you think you probably are losing Eddie, and to be honest, there was some thought that Pike may be drafted or may sign too, and so you might end up with neither of them, and you end up with both of them.
That was my biggest concern, because I think when we took him, he was like the 260th ranked prospect on the board at the time. And I was like, well, hell, we're going to lose Eddie and we're going to lose him. And then, like you said, here they both are.
And I think we had the Division III kid was signed as well. Is it Knoll?
Yes. Parker Knoll, yes.
And so he ends up at Minnesota, and good for him. I mean, they haven't been quite as good the last year or two, but good for him to find Minnesota has been a pretty good Big Ten team in the past. And, I'm just happy for him that he's able to find a place where he can go and play. And so, I mean, he looked around and there's a plethora of outfielders, here. So I think he just looked around and thought, well, I would like to get to play. And I mean, I wouldn't, that's fine. I mean, by all means, find a place where you can play. That's awesome for him. So, man, if I had to guess, Eddie probably to start opening day, but, one of those days for sure, you're going to see Pike out there. I mean, that family is just full of athletes. I think he has twin sisters who I'm pretty sure are going to play I think they were just named, I don't know, all Ohio volleyball. I think they're all state volleyball players that are going to play in the MAC somewhere. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know if they get it from their mom or their dad, but there's some genes being passed on in there where they've got some, they've got that Division I athlete gene for sure in that family. So, good kid, can really play. I mean, he reads the ball very well off the bat. He's a good outfielder. He's got a good arm. Like you said, he can hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, and Eddie, traditionally has been a slow starter, but man, does he finish.
Yeah.
So, the thought is, during the summer I had seen Vrabel out up at Grand Park in Indy, and I had said, you got Eddie back too, and he had said, can you imagine Eddie? That's what Vrabel said. Can you imagine if a full year of that last month and a half? And so that would be, I mean, he'd be a first team All-American is what he'd be. And so his arm has really improved. Again, like I stated, his route running to the baseball has improved. And it was really funny because I even remember that first year of him playing, he made a really, really nice running catch at UK in a game that they went over there and won. And Coach Mack made a point of talking about his improvement of route running in the outfield of going to get the baseball. And so he's continued to make strides in that department and has turned himself into a good outfielder. And he's not there's no one out there that's a liability defensively. Lucas maybe doesn't quite have the power bat, but you don't expect him to have that, but I would expect an uptick in homers from Zion as well. And there are there are 3 dudes that can drive the baseball and drive it out of the ballpark that are good options. And like I said, even Lippy, he's going to get some looks. Lippy's going to get to play. And so he has that ability as well, and is a quality defensive outfielder too.
No, I think, as we were talking about the outfielders, I was like, I think over the past, and not just a couple of years, but even going back in time a little bit, we've had some outfielders, and this isn't just Louisville, it's just really baseball in general. You have some guys in the outfield, and you stick them out there because they can catch a fly ball, but you really just need their bat in the lineup, right? But the 4 guys that we've got out there defensively, you really don't have any liabilities at all. I mean, you've got 4 guys that they're athletic. They can cover some ground. You look at Michael Lippy and his frame of, 6'3", 220, but that's like you talked about. He, the dude can play linebacker. He's one of the most athletic 6'3", 220 dudes you're going to find. He's going to cover some ground defensively. And don't get in his way because he'll run your ass over. So I think the 4 guys that we kind of have that will be in the rotation, there may be some others that see some innings out there too, but the 4 kind of core guys that we're going to see out there, they're defensive guys as well as they are offensive. And I think that's what excites me is we really don't have, not that we've ever had a big liability, but we don't have anybody that, somebody's going to have to make up their ground defensively because they're not going to be able to cover as much. That's not going to be a problem this year. You've got 4 guys that can cover the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there was, at the times that Louisville has been at its best over the last decade or so, a no-fly zone in the outfield, and this has the potential to be that kind of outfield.
Yeah,
I mean, there are not very many places that you could hit the baseball in the outfield that somebody cannot go and get it. And so these guys are gonna be fun to watch. I'm really excited about this group, and just watching them, play defense in the outfield is going to be a good time.
I remember, when Levi Usher was here, it didn't matter where the ball was hit. If it was going up the middle, you were like, that dude's going to catch the ball. Like there was no doubt about it that he was going to get a glove on no matter where it was hit. And I just loved watching him play center field, which is why he ended up winning a Golden Glove. So just super impressive. And not to kind of say these guys are Golden Glove caliber defensive players, but I think you've got 4 really, really good defensive players that I really don't think there's a concern out there, no matter which four you've got on the field. I think they're pretty interchangeable. So I think there's a lot to be excited about. We've talked about the past couple of years we're down, but everybody that I've talked to, fans, yourself, other people in the media that I've talked to, everybody's kind of talked about, I think this year could be the year that Louisville's going to bounce back. And I think just kind of running through the lineup tonight and where we think the pieces are going to fall and what the rotation may look like, I think we really have a lot to be excited about starting Friday night against Texas. So before we kind of wrap this thing up, anything else you want to add, maybe that we missed, any kind of expectations or anything that we didn't touch on? I know we touched on a lot, but there's a lot we didn't talk about. Anything else that you think is an important note or an important person maybe that we didn't talk about?
I did want to touch on just a couple bullpen guys because I think
Yeah.
you had asked you had asked, and I just kind of got talking about the starter guys, and I didn't even get to some bullpen guys, but it's obviously everybody knows. I think what was he named today in D1 baseball maybe had Tucker at number 8, maybe in terms of relievers. So obviously he's going to get some love there, and everybody knows, Tucker's makeup is just perfect for the role that he's in. Just a bulldog mentality. I mean, if there was ever somebody that was like meant to be like that shutdown closer, like he has it. So I love him in that role. He's got the right stuff. Again, a Team USA guy, got a lot of fun opportunities over the summer in terms of just being able to, they've talked about it, just being able to be around those other elite guys and figure out what they do and tinker with different pitches and like learn from other guys. It's pretty fun for them. And I know that he's been able to do that over the last couple summers and learn some different pitches from some guys. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for Tucker. This bullpen though has a lot of other pieces. It's deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's deep not only with, some guys that you've seen before, whether a Ty Stark, who's going to give you like these different looks from these different arm angles where it just kind of looks like it's coming from some different spots. And, is it sidearm? Is it three court? Like, Ty's coming at you, it just looks like all arms and legs coming at you. And so, but he's got good stuff. I was really impressed with the freshman season. Again, it's not like he was lights out every time, but you would never expect a freshman to be lights out every time, or anyone, honestly, really. But I mean, he showed you he has it. I mean, and the thing that I like about Ty is, again, he doesn't have these like insane metrics in terms of like his fastball. Ty doesn't throw 95, but the thing that Ty does really well is he knows how to pitch. And he hits spots. And there are very, very few kids that step in as freshmen that know how to pitch. Most of them are, I don't want to necessarily just say showcase kids, but they just have some metrics that jump out at you, whether it be velo or spin rate or different things. And those things are great. I don't want to downplay having those things. There's a lot more to pitching than that. Ask Evan Webster. And so, you don't have to have these chart topping things. And so there's a lot of other guys I'm really excited about seeing. They're going to run freshmen out too. And for my man, if I really, I've kind of tried to tinker and chart. I'm sure the coaches I don't want to say I'm sure, they obviously are way better at it than me, but just when you want to kind of look at how many innings you're going to need from different, from the bullpen or from different arms, you want to try to guess, there's going to be a handful or a couple handful of innings a week available to freshmen. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of options out there. And it's not just the heralded guys that you see. I mean, if I'm telling you, you watch Kean Vorster throw that slider, that thing is ACC ready right now. I mean, it was ready last year in high school. Does he have some of the other pitches? He's not, again, his velo isn't going to jump at you. But that slider's nasty. He's going to get a chance to pitch. You're obviously going to see, some other, some more heralded guys than that. But, like I said, you've got Stark. Who is it? Justin West is obviously get to run out there. Honestly, to me, Justin, you know the curveball is nasty, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that thing's virtually unhittable if it's biting.
Right.
Um, it's just his secondary pitch in terms of that is almost his main pitch, right? But um, the velo was up in the summer. Was he throwing 91, 92 in the Cape, I think? So, look, if he can throw that, he's going to be able to get guys out.
Yeah.
Um, if the velo is what it was, a little bit more last year, then, it's going to be a little harder for him. He's got to have, he's got to be able to mix it. And, again, a great summer in the Cape. And, hopefully that really can translate because I hope he gained a lot of confidence. I'm sure he did. Being able to showcase it in, the best summer league in the world, obviously. So I'm excited for him to get a chance. Man, there's just so many guys, but whether is it Michael, is it Cuts, is it Hartman, who, long relief guys. I mean, there's so many options down there. Jake Greger's going to get a throw.
Jack
I think
Brown.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I could,
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget somebody because there's so many guys. Brown is so good. I'm telling you, I mean, I went up and saw Brown throw against Lund, who, I mean, maybe we'll see he's an Oklahoma State signee. I mean, I went and watched those dudes duel last year up at Fisher's. I mean, there were like multiple scouts from every team up there.
And he showed up to campus looking like a 25-year-old.
The guy, and he got the mustache. The kid's ready to go. So I like that. It's a good look. So look, I think he's going to get a chance to hit as well.
Yeah, I've seen that.
At least I'm not saying he's going to be a regular or anything like that, but he'll get in that bat or two in the same way that he might lean towards pitching the way that Patrick, at least his first year, leaned towards hitting.
Yeah.
But that kid is as talented as anyone in that bullpen.
Yeah.
Schweitzer is not as heralded of a kid. He's going to get a throw, and he's looked really good. I love Schweitzer's stuff. And again, he has the makeup. Mentally, he's there. So there's just, and I'm sure I forgot somebody. And if I did, I apologize honestly, sincerely. There's just so many dudes in that bullpen and they're all going to get a chance. Lessman, I knew I forgot Lessman, and he had a great fall. He's had a good spring. So he's going to get a chance. To be honest, they were stretching Lessman out a little bit in the fall, and I thought, is this kid going to get a chance to run out there as a starter? But looks like he's going to be a bullpen guy, and so I mean, I like him too. When he's on, he's dialed in, man, and so just gives you a different look as well. Again, I'm sure I forgot somebody, and apologies to whoever.
Danielevich.
Oh my, yeah. I mean,
I think it's a really good point. What you're saying here is, you could just rattle guys off because the options that we're going to have this year, and it's not just options to be a body, right? You're not just rolling somebody out there just because you need an out or two. We're rolling people out there that are quality bullpen guys that are capable of getting outs in the ACC. These aren't just people that we're saying just because, you need to throw somebody out there because we don't have anybody else. I really think this bullpen is one of the deepest bullpens we've seen at Louisville in a very long time.
The last couple of years, I guess we'll say, it's been a little bit of a struggle at times, coming out of the bullpen. And to be honest, maybe not quite as good of a, we haven't had a frontline starter like a Forbes the last couple of years. And so that will help. Hopefully, we can get some other guys that reach that level, but I completely agree. This bullpen is deep. Again, I would caution, they're not all going to be on every time they come out there. So that's just not reality for anybody across the country. That's not college baseball, especially just with, you even take into account metal band, whatever it may be. It's not going to be every time. But if someone doesn't have it one day, there's another option there. If that guy doesn't have it, there's another option there. And so it's very deep. It's very deep from the left and the right side. And so I'm really excited. I'm really high on the bullpen, on the arms. I think this pitching staff has the potential to be really, really good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of the strengths. And like you said, there's been some struggle the past couple of years, but I think this is the year that we've kind of circled on our calendars the past couple of years that this could be the year that Louisville bounces back. And talking about the depth that we've got in the bullpen and the depth that we've got through not just the bullpen, but the position, the outfield's deep, the infield. We're talking about how interchangeable they are. You've got 3 or 4 guys behind the plate. I really think this could be the year that we see Louisville, get back into the national powerhouse that we saw. And I know you as much as I do. I'm really, really excited about that possibility because we're ready for Louisville to get back to Omaha because I would love nothing more to head out there this year and I want to get to Omaha just to see Omaha, but I will really want to go to Omaha when Louisville's there. So I would love to see this team kind of break through and take a trip out there this year and watch Louisville play a couple games and make some noise out in Omaha because we haven't been there in a while. I miss that place a little bit.
It's the best. I was very fortunate to be able to go in 19. It was an absolute blast. Able to see the boys win a game. I mean, it was so fun. I mean, that run was awesome, and what a special place, obviously. And like, there's so much around there, and just that whole, basically week plus is just such a. I mean, if you love college baseball, it's heaven, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
you can go and visit like the old Rosenblatt and like, that to me, I mean, I'm a little older. So, I mean, that's fun to me because that's how I remember, a kid, as a kid being excited about college baseball. And so,
Yeah.
this team has the makeup. It has the makeup. And, you need, look, much like any sport, you need a little luck on your side, right? You need some things. You need some things to bounce your way.
You gotta stay healthy.
And 100%. I mean, look, how good was the team a couple years ago before some injuries started happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, there are some times over the past couple years where we just haven't quite gotten a break, right? And maybe even a couple years before that, I think in 21, they might have gotten as high as number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
Before, the bottom kind of fell out towards the back end.
Yep.
And look, baseball is that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about college baseball that's a lot different than professional baseball, obviously, is the length of the season. Where in pro ball, you can have a month that's not your month and still be okay because you can get hot late. You can't afford that in college baseball because that's a third of your season.
It's your season. Yeah, your season's over. Yeah.
And so, you don't have quite as much time to make up. And look, as we all know, the ACC is loaded. And so, you don't have, even if you look down a projected order of a standing, the teams in that bottom quarter, it's not a just, oh, that's a sweep. You can't, no one looks at their schedule and just thinks sweep.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't think they do. So lots of tough games to come, but I'm really excited about this team and what the potential is for them.
Yeah, and I think that's a hell of a schedule, and we'll talk about that as we get into ACC play and stuff. And I think Dan talked about this the other day. Louisville finished 6th, I think, last year in the ACC, and 4 of the 5 teams in front of them went to Omaha, and Louisville didn't make the tournament. So, it's a deep league. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to get a lot of big time wins. So I think there's a lot to be encouraged about when you look at this roster top to bottom. And I'm just really excited about this team, and I'm just excited to watch college baseball. Like Friday cannot get here fast enough. I was watching some D2 baseball over the weekend just because they started playing. Just because I just want to watch baseball, man. Like so, being able to watch Louisville this Friday night, I couldn't be happier just to kind of get back in the swing of things. No pun intended.
No, I'm excited about it. Same as you. I mean, I've been tracking and watching D2 baseball for, a couple weekends here. NAIA ball started up. I mean, I'm following it all. So, yeah, I'm just really excited to get the boys to run out there on Friday night and let's get this thing going. And honestly, I'm excited to watch them play somebody other than themselves. And I'm sure that they are. I'm sure that they are
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah.
Let's go play somebody with a different jersey on, and you know, you're gonna find out what you're made of right away, and you get to play in a major league ballpark in front of a ton, as many fans as you're gonna play in front of all year before you get to Omaha on Friday night. So just pretty excited about it. I'm sure they're stoked about it, and should be a fun weekend.
Yeah. Well, safe travels. I know you're heading down to Texas here in a couple days, so safe travels down there. Have a good time. Bring a couple wins home if you can. Like we talked about, if we can't, we'll figure that part out down the road. But just want to give you a big Third and Central welcome. Appreciate you joining the podcast. It's been great. I know this season is going to be awesome. Terry and I have talked. We're looking to come weekly this year, so you're going to see and hear a lot of us over the next couple months. Like I said earlier, I'm going to plug Terry one more time. You can find him on Twitter at InsideVilleBSB. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Sefcovic. And I'm going to close like we always do. In the words of Sean Moth, we'll see you at the ballpark.